Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. In today's webinar, we're going to dive into key features that make Neat's search capabilities stand out and help you to find what you need quickly and efficiently in Neat. Here is the agenda for today. We're going to do a quick searching overview first, where we're going to take a look at how searching works in Neat and some searching nuances. Then we're going to demo three features for you, those being keyword search, filtering, and sorting. And lastly, we'll open it up to a quick Q&A session at the end where we can answer specific questions that you guys have about searching in Neat. Now, so let's go ahead and get into it. In order for you to effectively use searching in Neat, I think it's helpful for you to understand what data Neat is actually searching through when you run a keyword search in Neat. So when you run a keyword search in Neat, Neat looks at two places. It looks at your file field data, which is the data that you see in a file when you open the file, all that, all the file field data to the left. It's the same data that you see in your file grid when you look at all of your files in a grid. As you can see, I have those two screenshots here, and Neat looks through all of that data. It also looks through all of your file field notes as well. So if you take any notes on your files, notes will also be searchable. The second place Neat searches are your actual file images. So Neat looks for matching characters, words, and numbers from your actual file images. But how is Neat able to do that? How is Neat able to run a keyword search on an image? Well, Neat is able to do this through OCR. OCR is optical character recognition. And OCR processing is the process that converts an image of text from your scanned paper documents, from images that you've captured with your phone, and from other digital images containing text, including all of the file types that you see at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, into a machine-readable text format. And every file that you add to Neat goes through this OCR process during its initial upload. And it's part of the reason why larger files that you upload to Neat may take some more time to process. The more text on your file, the longer OCR processing is going to take. So you guys can actually observe what has been processed via OCR on any file that you add to Neat with a tool called the text selection tool. And I want to show you this. So to do that, I'm going to share with you guys my Neat account. So give me 1 second while I set that up. Okay. So here is my Neat account. I have a file in my Needs review filter here, and it's this Park Mobile receipt that you see here. So I'm going to open this Park Mobile receipt. And when I do, we can see all of my file field data to the left, all of this data here to the left, and then my file image to the right. And Neat is going to search through all of this data to find this matching file with similar search terms. Again, you can observe OCR processing on any one of your files using the text selection tool. Now, you can access the text selection tool in a file above your image by clicking this arrow button here. And you can see when I hover over it, I get that little text that says Enable Text Selection Tool. And when I do, I'm able to now highlight all of this data on my actual image. So what this text selection tool is allowing me to do is highlight any of the text on the file that has been processed by OCR. I can copy this text and I can paste this text anywhere I want. So for example, I have this authentication ID number here, and I could go ahead and copy that and paste it into my notes. I could, select the location. Maybe I want to see the location here. I can select this all. I'm copying this by just clicking Command C on my keyboard. I'm using a Mac, so I'm using Command C. On a Windows computer, it'd just be Control C and then Command V or Control V to paste. And just like that, I'm able to copy data directly off of my file image into my notes here. What this really demonstrates is that Neat has taken this image and has transformed it so all of the text on the image is searchable and I can interact with it and highlight and copy from it. What this also means is any text that I can highlight on this document, I can also run a keyword search on. So for example, And I do want to clarify, OCR processing doesn't work on handwritten notes or on stylized logos. So you won't be able to handwrite a bunch of notes in and have Neat recognize all of your handwriting. It may recognize some characters, but it's made to recognize text on a digital document or a physical document. So I'm gonna demonstrate for you guys real quick how I can use this. So I'm just gonna highlight this authentication ID here. I'm gonna close this file, and I'm gonna go over to my all files filter. Now let's say I needed to find that particular Park Mobile receipt in my database, and the only thing that that I have to look for this file is my authentication ID. I can go ahead and I can enter my authentication ID here into the search bar and click enter. And as you can see, Neat has brought up one search result. When I open it, it is the Park Mobile receipt that we all were just looking at. And as you can see, there's nothing in my file field data that references the authentication ID that I used to search for this file with. The only place that authentication ID appears on my file is within the file image itself. So that's how Neat identified and found this file for me, strictly using the OCR text data that it was able to match to my search term. So while we're talking about the text selection tool, I do have another tip for you from real Neat customers on how you can use the text selection tool for other things. So we've talked with many customers who are working with many programs at once. You know, they have their email system open, they have Neat open, their sales systems and other systems and applications that they have open. And what they use the text selection tool for is to copy long strings of text like part numbers, account numbers, SKUs, and more from their files in Neat to other applications that they're using. So you don't, instead of having to open two applications right next to each other and typing out a long string of text, or writing that long string of text down on a physical piece of paper and then typing it all into another application, instead of doing all that, you can just use the text selection tool to select and copy text directly from your file image and copy that text into another application that you're using. So don't forget about the text selection tool if you are, referencing long strings of numbers within your documents. So now that we know where Neat is searching, let's move on to our next topic and talk more about keyword searching. Now, depending on the type of plan that you have in Neat, your search bar may look a little bit different than mine. If you have our files or our base plan, then you're just going to see a search bar up at the top here. However, if you have a books or an automated insights plan like me, then you're going to see this extra search bar setting here to the left of your keyword search bar. And this dropdown, if you click on it, allows you to tell Neat where to search. If you wanted to search in your files or your file cabinet, you would select files. If you wanted it to search within your transactions, from your connected accounts and transactions, you would just choose transactions. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, we offer a transaction streaming feature that allows you to connect all of your bank, credit card, and loan accounts to Neat so that you can see all of your financial data across all of your financial accounts in one place. You can use this data to run reports if you need to, and you can also get dynamic insights about all of the transactions that you streamed into Neat. If that's something that you're interested in learning more about, then there's going to be a little pop-up in the bottom left-hand corner of this window in a moment that will link to a page to help you learn more about our automated insights plan. So make sure you check that out if you're interested. Going back to keyword search, I'm just going to go back to my all files folder here, and we're going to select files as as the location I want to search. So, right now I am in my all files folder, and we can see, I did want to call out at the very top of my all files folder, and really any folder and any filter, you're going to get this total data. This total data tells you how many files you're currently viewing in the grid or in a folder or in a filter, and how much those files add up to in terms of total amount. So we can see I'm viewing 293 items, totaling about $29,000. Let's go ahead and let's run a keyword search. So I'm going to do a some very simple searching in search terms right now. We're going to look for a specific receipt that I have in my database, but from a specific vendor. And it's actually the sample receipt that everyone gets when they start a new Neat account. So I'm just going to search for that vendor, which is Neat Building Supply. Notice I'm not adding any commas or quotations or any special, characters here. I'm just entering in exactly what I'm looking for and I'm pressing enter. And when I do, here are my search results. So I get the file that I was looking for, this Neat receipt building supply. This is like I said, the sample receipt that we add to your account so that you have something to kind of start off with and see a demonstration of. And the second thing that popped up is this report. And this is a Neat generated report. And the reason that this popped up in my search results is because this file is in that report somewhere. So if I were to open this report and I were to search through the images of this report, we would see that this Neat building supply receipt is somewhere within that Neat generated report. So anytime you run a keyword search, again, Neat is searching all of your file field data and all of your OCR processed text data and looking for matching characters. And it's going to show results for every file that matches those search results. So I have 2 files that show that. What we can also see is that my totals have changed as well. So now we're only seeing 2 files within this all files folder, and we're seeing that they total up to about $300. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can use that as well to get some other quick details about your files later on in this webinar. So that was a pretty simple search. Let's do a really simple search in the transaction section of Neat. So I'm going to just switch this over to transactions, and we're going to search for the same thing. Now you'll notice Neat will save your recent searches. It will save up to 10 recent search terms for you. So I'm just going to select Neat building supply because that's what I want to search for. And as you can see, it's now taking me to the transaction section of Neat, and it's showing me 2 matching transactions that I have, one from November and one from December, both with the vendor Neat building supply. So just like it works in the file section, it'll work the same in the transaction section. And you'll notice that the accounts and transactions section also has a totals data up at the top left corner. It's showing that I'm currently showing 2 files totaling about negative $750. And additionally, the transaction section of Neat also provides you with this category breakdown that shows you, when you're looking at all the files in your grid, a breakdown of all of the different categories you're currently viewing in your grid and a sum of each of the transactions for each of those categories. So you can get some quick ideas as to how much you're spending on different categories real quick. So I'm going to go back to my all files folder now, and we're going to try a different search. So a common scenario I see is lots of customers storing medical data in Neat. So they'll store their insurance details, they'll store details about prescriptions that they've purchased, details about their HSAs and HSA purchases. And another common one is, maybe needing to reference a prescription that you've filled in the past. Maybe you need to get a prescription refilled, and the only thing that you have is the prescription number to search for this file. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in my prescription number. That is this number here. Now, the more characters you can add to your search, the more likely Neat is going to be able to find the file you're looking for. So that's why I added the number symbol in this particular keyword search. However, I also do want to call out that keyword searches are not case sensitive. So I could make this a lowercase rx and I'd still be able to find the file that I'm looking for. So I'm going to click return, and we have 1 file that loads as a result of this. It's a Rite Aid receipt, and we can see I have categorized it as the category prescription. Let's go ahead and open it up, and we have my receipt here. So, looking at the file field data over here to the left, there's nothing here in the file field data that references that prescription number that I used to search for this file. In fact, the only place that we're going to be able to find that prescription number is going to be on the file itself. We can see I have the RX number right here. So again, Neat was able to find this file using only the OCR text data that was processed from this specific file. And again, I didn't need to match the search terms perfect or the search characters perfectly. I did the lowercase rx, so we can see the R here is uppercase, but Neat was still able to find this file for me. So we have done some simple keyword searches up until this point, but let's look at some more advanced searches. You can run a single word or single term keyword search in Neat, as we just demonstrated. But did you know that you can actually also run a multi-word keyword search to help you narrow down your search results? For example, I'm going to type in SEPTA. Now, I acquire a lot of SEPTA receipts because I live in the great city of Philadelphia and I need to travel into Center City quite a bit for webinars and for work. And I need to take SEPTA's rail system in order to do that. So we can see I have 24 SEPTA receipts in here. Now, if I were looking for a specific SEPTA receipt, it's going to be more difficult for me to find that receipt because I have so many of the same type of receipt. What I can do is I can add additional search terms to my keyword search to help narrow down my search results and find the file I'm looking for specifically. Now, for example, I have I categorize my train tickets here kind of differently. I have some categorized as train tickets, some as transportation, some as general retail. Let's say, for example, I added some details about my SEPTA receipt. So let me type in SEPTA, and I'm going to type in the category train ticket. Notice I didn't add a comma or any quotations or, a separation to indicate the individual search terms. I just typed in SEPTA, train, and ticket, and I'm going to press enter. And now what Neat has done is it's now showing me only 15 results that match the keyword search terms that I've entered. So all of these 15 files here in my keyword search reference SEPTA somewhere within the file field data and in the OCR text data, and reference train ticket somewhere in the file field data or the OCR text data. So that's why these 15 files came up. And I've my search results are smaller, so it might be easier for me to find my file. Let's say I knew even more details about my file. Let's say I was looking for a reimbursable receipt that I sent to Matt. And maybe I added notes to the file that I'm looking for that I needed to send it to Matt. And that's this file right here. So we can see this is a SEPTA train ticket that I marked as reimbursable that I sent to Matt for reimbursement. And I notated that in my notes. Maybe I know all of that information about my file. I can go into my search, my keyword search up here. We'll type in SEPTA. We'll type in train ticket, and we'll type in Matt. And when I click enter, Neat is going to look for all files that reference SEPTA, train, ticket, and Matt, either somewhere in the file field data itself or in the OCR text data. And when I click enter, Neat has found just the one file that matches all of those keyword search terms. So we can see it references SEPTA, train ticket, and also references Matt somewhere, which in this case is on my notes. So again, if you know more details about your file, if you know how you categorize your file, if you added notes referencing someone or referencing a part number, you can add those additional search terms into your keyword search, and you might be able to narrow down your file better or your search results better. Another really common example that we see are, customers who need to access a receipt for maybe like a refund or a return or a warranty or something like that, where they need to access the original receipt so that they can process a refund or some type of process like that. In those instances, typically, the vendor, like where you're returning the file or the item to, and you typically know what the cost of that was. So, as an example, let's look up Target. I have a bunch of Target receipts in here as well. And I specifically have one Target receipt with a total of 73.60. So say for example, I knew that there was something on this Target receipt that I needed to get a refund for, or I needed to exchange or, fulfill a warranty with. If I know my vendor and I know the amount, I can enter both of those terms into my keyword search bar, and Neat is going to find that file for me. So we'll type in Target. Again, I don't need to type in capital Target. I can just type in Target all lowercase, and I can enter the total amount, which was 73.60. I don't need to enter the dollar sign. I could just type in 73.60. That also works, and I can press enter. And now Neat is showing me only two files that match those keyword search terms that I provided it. So we have the Target receipt that I was looking for with the amount of 73.60. And we also, again, have this Neat generated report that showed up. So this Target receipt, I know, appears somewhere in this Neat generated report that I have here. So, if I needed to, I'm on the go, I can quickly, open my file up, download it if I need to, print it if I need to. And, I now have access to it to fulfill the warranty or the refund that I needed to fulfill. So again, if you know details like vendor and total amount, those are two great keyword search terms to combine in your keyword search to narrow down your search results even further. So what about dates? Now, keyword searching with dates, in my opinion, isn't always as helpful. For example, again, let's look up Target because I know I have a bunch of Target receipts in here. And I know that I have a Target receipt specifically from, let's say like 8/6/2023 right here. So there's no other Target receipts for 8/6/2023. It's just that one. I could type in, maybe I know I'm looking for a Target receipt from 8/6/2023. I could type in Target and I can type in 08/06/2023. And when I press enter, as you can see, I have 11 search results. So Neat hasn't narrowed down the search results as much as you might think it would here. And there are a couple reasons for that. The first reason is that there are multiple date columns or multiple date categories. You have the date column, which is the date associated with the receipt or your file. And then there's also the date added column as well. And that's the date that you added the file to Neat. And so Neat is going to pull up all Target receipts, all references of Target in any of my receipts and my documents that also have a date in August, either in the date or the date added columns. So we can see we have all of these Target receipts that were added in August, all of these Target receipts that were also purchased in August. The other thing is some of the other date details will be included in the search. So for example, I'm showing Target receipts from 06 because we referenced 06 at that in the search terms. So if you're searching for a file using date only, then really I actually recommend using filtering and sorting over the keyword search term. We're going to talk about sorting and filtering in a bit, but and we'll look at some date examples as well. Before we get into filtering and sorting, I wanted to share some other searching tips that I have for you. Another common question that we get is, how can I do a keyword search in a specific folder? I want to look through a specific folder and find a specific file. So to do that, all you would need to do is you would need to go to the file, or go to the folder, I'm sorry, that you want to run a keyword search in. So I'm going to this folder that I manually created, by the way. This is not a folder that you guys are going to see in your own database. This is a custom created folder that I created called Searching in Neat. I have 37 files in here. Now, if I wanted to do a keyword search in this, in this specific folder, I could. Let me just change this real quick so you can see there are a bunch of different types of files in here. But let's say I was looking for a SEPTA receipt in this folder. If I just type my search term in here up in the keyword search bar, What Neat is actually going to do is Neat is actually going to always search my all files filter whenever you run a keyword search from this search bar up here. So if you want to run a keyword search within a specific folder, you don't want to enter your search term up here. What you actually want to do is you want to go to the folder that you want to run a keyword search in. Then you want to add the filter, click on the filter dropdown and add the filter keyword search. And what you're telling Neat is you're telling Neat that I want to run a keyword search in this specific folder. So now if I searched for SEPTA in this specific keyword search bar and press save, we can see that Neat is keeping me in my searching in Neat folder. It hasn't brought me back up to all files. We can still see that I'm in my searching in Neat folder, and Neat is only showing me SEPTA receipts that are specifically in this folder. So again, if you want to run a keyword search to look for a specific file in a specific folder, make sure you add the filter drop-down keyword search and run a keyword search from here instead of from the search bar up top. So that's one tip. The second tip that I want to share with you around keyword searching is that, obviously we can run keyword searches to find files in Neat, but did you know that you can also run a keyword search on your file images themselves to find matching text within an image? And let me show you an example. So I think I have, So I have this IRS file right here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to open this up in a new window because the text in this file is very small. So in order to open this image up in a new window, I'm going to click this option above my image, which allows me to open in a new tab. So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm just going to double check and make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. And it looks like you are. All right. So in my new tab, I still have access to a bunch of neat features. I can still access the text selection tool and highlight things from my file. I can rotate my file if I need to, zoom in if I need to, and even easily traverse my file if I need to as well. What you'll notice about this file is 114 pages. So if this happens where you have lots of files with lots of pages that are like larger files, maybe you need to find a specific page within your document, a specific reference in your document, or agreement within your document. There is a tool called the Find in Document tool that allow you to search the file that you're specifically looking at for matching search terms. So I can do that by clicking this little magnifying glass here up the top right-hand corner above my file image. And when I do that, I get this little Find in Document search bar here. So I'm going to type in a search term. I know that the word health appears in this document like a number of times. It actually shows me that the word health appears in this document 60 times. And if I click on the arrows, it's just going to show me each new mention of health. So we jump to the next mention, we jump to the next mention here, we jump to the next mention here. If I select highlight all, Neat is going to highlight all the mentions of health here on my document. So you can see it, it mentions health quite a bit. I can also tell Neat to match the case. This is really helpful if you're, searching for a specific form or something. I can tell it to match case, and now we can see that there are only 14 matching results because it's only showing me files that have that capital H included in there. So we can see, only health with a capital H is now being shown to me. So if you have files that have lots of pages in them and you need to search a file to find a specific page or a specific reference, you can do so by clicking the magnifying glass and using the Find in Document tool, and then entering your search terms to find your file that way. So another great searching tip. All right, we're going to go back to Neat now, just making sure you guys can see that. It looks like you can. And I'm going to close this. So keyword search is just one way that you can find files in Neat. But filtering and sorting are also searching methods that you can use to find files quickly. And I actually think sorting and filtering is underrated when it comes to finding files quickly. I typically, when I'm searching for files in Neat, I don't even use keyword search. I typically use just filtering and sorting to find what I need. So Neat offers you different flavors for finding your files, allowing you to combine different searching methods or stick with the method that you prefer. It's really all about how you want to use Neat and which ways you find using Neat to be easiest. So let's quickly take a look at filtering. So I want to talk about some filtering basics real quick first. An important thing to know about filters is that your filters change based on the types of files that you're viewing in the grid. For example, we're going to go back to my all files filter here. We're looking at 293 items, but if I click on the item type drop down here, which is a filter, I wanted to let you know, we can actually see that I'm viewing 256 receipts, 4 bills, 2 contacts, 30 documents, and 1 invoice. And when I click on the filters drop down, we can see I have a limited number of filtering options here. If I want to see more filtering options, then I have to filter my grid down to just one item type, just receipts or just documents or just invoices. So for example, I'm going to click on the item type dropdown, which like I said is a filter, and I'm going to select receipts only. And when I click out of here, Neat is going to filter all of my files to show me just the receipts within my database. So right now we're viewing only 256 receipts within my database. And now when I click on the filters dropdown, you'll notice I have a lot more filter options. These are all receipt-specific file field filters that I can use to filter my receipts. So if you guys are going about filtering your files and you're not seeing all of the filter types that you want to see, you need to filter your item types down to just one item type. If you're looking for a document, filter your item types down to document. If you're looking for a receipt, filter your item types down to just receipt. And when you do that, you'll get more filtering options. Now, to learn more about item types themselves, how they work, how they affect your grid and your columns, and other aspects of Neat, I recommend that you check out another webinar that we ran last year called The Beginner's Guide to File Organization. This webinar goes over a lot of beginners' topics, a lot of beginners' concepts with Neats, and it kind of builds a foundation for how you can use Neat moving forward. And you can find the recording of that webinar on our webinars on our webinar library at neat.com/webinars. And I can actually quickly show you that. I'll share this tab here. This is it. This is, again, neat.com/webinars. And you can see, here are all of our previously run webinars along with the Beginner's Guide to File Organization right here. So make sure you check that out if you're looking to learn even more about how you can make the most out of Neat. All right, we're sharing our Neat tab again. Let me just double check and make sure you guys can see that also. All right, great. All right, so I'm going to leave the receipt filter applied because, like I said, in order for me to see all the filters that I want to be able to see, I need to filter down to just one item type. So let's go back to a previous example. In an earlier example, I looked for a specific reimbursable SEPTA receipt, and I used keyword search to find it earlier. Now I'm going to show you how you can find the same file using a different method, using filtering instead. So with filtering, Neat allows you to stack filters on top of each other by adding more and more filters to your grid until you find the file that you're looking for. So for example, I have my item type filter to receipts. I'm going to add a filter for vendor now, and we're going to look for SEPTA. And what I'm telling Neat right now is that I only want to see receipts that have the vendor SEPTA. And from 256 receipts, we went down to now just 24 receipts. Let's add another filter. Let's say I add the category train ticket, as we did earlier. And we'll type in train ticket. And I'm telling Neat, now I only want to see receipts. Oh, receipts with the vendor SEPTA and the category train ticket. And now I'm only seeing 15 files again. And let's say, I want to see only reimbursable receipts. I want to look for a reimbursable SEPTA receipt that I have. I can add a final filter for reimbursable and mark it as I only want to see the receipts that are marked yes as reimbursable and click save. And now Neat is only showing me the only 3 files within my database that are receipts that have the vendor of SEPTA, the category of train ticket, and the reimbursable status of yes. And now when I hover over my notes, I can find the file I was looking for that I, sent to Matt for reimbursement very quickly and easily. And I didn't need to type in anything. I just needed to add a bunch of filters to filter my files down to just this particular train ticket. That's a way that you can use filters. You can stack them on top of each other to filter all of your files down to just what you're looking for. Another tip for using filters is that you can also use filters to help you get quick totals about your files without running a whole neat report. So we talked about the totals up here earlier. You can use filters in combination with those totals to get an idea of how much you might be spending on different categories or on a specific project or for specific vendors. For example, I'm going to remove the filters I've currently applied by clicking the X next to all of the filters that I want to remove. I'm going to leave the receipt item type filter applied though. Let's say, for example, I want to see how much money I spent last year on office supplies. I can quickly find a total for that without running a neat report by using filters and by using this totals data up at the top here. So again, I want to look for all files from all purchases I made last year where I categorize my files in office supply purchase. So I can add a date filter first because we know we want to look for only files from last year. When I click on the filters dropdown and choose date, I have date here. And we have some quick date filters that you can use for this year or last year or this quarter. I'm going to choose last year. And it's going to automatically tell me that we want to look for any files from 1/1/2023 to 12/31/2023. You could also click within the calendar here if you need to, or type in the dates that you want as your start and end date as well. It just depends on how you want to enter the data in there. And I'm going to click save. And now Neat is showing me only 232 receipts that were uploaded or took place during the year of 2023. Now, again, I want to see how much I specifically spent on office supplies in 2023. What I could do is I could add a category filter here. And I could add a category filter for office supplies. And we'll choose office supplies. And we'll choose this office supply as well and click save. And now I'm only looking at receipts that were made in 2023 with the category office supplies applied to them. I can see that that totals to 10 purchases that I made last year, totaling just about $5,000. And just like that, I was able to get a quick idea as to how much I spent on office supplies last year. I can use that data or that information that I just found out about my files to make more informed purchasing decisions and budgeting decisions. Another example, let's say I have a project that I'm tracking in Neat. I don't think I have the project tab or column applied. I'm going to add the project column by clicking the column drop down here and putting a check mark in the project column. And we can see that I do have some files here that have projects associated with them. Let's say I want to see how much I spent for a specific project last year. I could add a filter for project. And maybe the project is, I want to see how much I spent on this New York convention project that I did. I can select that project and I can click save. And now Neat has filtered all of my files to only show me receipts with the project of New York Convention 2023. And I can see that there are 12 files totaling about $1,500. So I can see at a glance that I spent just about $1,500 on this project, and maybe that needs to be reimbursed to me. So I can get an idea of how much needs to be reimbursed. So again, you combining the totals and the filters, you can filter your files quickly and learn details about your files without running a whole neat expense report or spending report. If I'm looking for one specific detail or one specific set of data. All right, so that's filtering. Filtering is pretty simple. And like I said, though simple, I do think it's underrated. I think I personally use filtering probably more often than I run keyword searches. This is a small database, and so filtering is much easier to do on a smaller database, but I also have my own main account that I use, for all of my own personal purchases and things like that. And it's a much bigger database, and I still tend to personally lean more towards using filtering and sorting to find files that I'm looking for. That brings me lastly to sorting. Let's talk about sorting a bit. So, sorting data is like organizing a messy room. Sorting data is putting your data into a specific order, like alphabetical order or numerical order. And it makes it easier for you to be able to find your files because when you put your data into an organized structure, you then have a jump point or you know where to look within that organized structure for the file you're looking for. It's a way of structuring your data for faster retrieval. Now, you can sort all your files in the data grid by clicking on any one of the column headers up at the top here. So you can order your data sequentially by clicking on the date column, and clicking it again will put it in reverse order. You could order things alphabetically by clicking on any one of the alphabetical columns like vendor or category. And by clicking it again, it'll put it in reverse order. And you can also sort items numerically in Neat by clicking on any of the columns with total amounts in them. Clicking it again will put it in reverse order. Now, when you're looking for files by date, I recommended using sorting and filtering because it's much easier for you to look for a date within a sequential order than it is to, look through a bunch of different files randomly. If I know that I'm looking for a specific file from, December or February 2023 here, I can put my data in order of date, and then I can go to my February data and quickly find the file I'm looking for in that ordered list. So that's one benefit to sorting. Another benefit to sorting is that it also helps you to group certain files together at the top of your grid. For example, reimbursable status is a great one. If I click on reimbursable status, what Neat is going to do is Neat is going to group all of my reimbursable items together up at the top or the bottom of my grid. And now, if I'm looking for a specific reimbursable file, I know that they're all up at the top of my grid and I can quickly find the file I'm looking for. This is also beneficial for notes. You can, sort your files by notes as well. And what it'll do is it'll group all of your files that have notes associated with them at the top or the bottom of your grid. And now I can quickly, hover over all of my notes to find maybe the file that I'm specifically looking for. So that's another benefit to sorting. Really simple, when you're using filtering and sorting together, it makes it incredibly easy to find files. For example, if we go back to the SEPTA example, maybe I add a filter for SEPTA. Maybe I know I'm looking for reimbursable SEPTA receipts, so I can sort my receipts by reimbursable status and bring them all to the top. And then I can quickly look at which ones have notes and find the one that I referenced to send to Matt, this one for reimbursement. So again, quick and easy. Now, we have a handout that we're going to share with you guys in a moment that is going to go over all of the searching tips and tricks that we talked about today. It includes details about the text selection tool, the find and document tool, tips for searching within a specific folder. So if that's something you're interested in downloading and keeping, you can go ahead and download that handout when it becomes available to your left. And now we're going to open the floor to a bit of Q&A. And I actually see a question has come in already. Melissa says, this has been great. How would I search for a URL? That's a great question, Melissa. So again, Neat takes all of your files and processes them through OCR. So if your file has a URL on it somewhere, then you can search by that full URL and find that file in Neat. I think I might have an example here. Just give me 1 second to find it. I know that one of the files had this URL on it. So let me go over to Neat. And so, I'm typing in this whole URL, even the HTTP colon // I'm including in my search. So I can include the entirety of the URL if I need to search for a URL. And when I press enter, it's bringing up the 2 CVS receipts that are associated with that URL. And if I open these up, I will find, and I can probably do a find in document here and look for this URL as well. And there it is. We can see that this URL appears in the very tiny text at the bottom of this CVS receipt about, where you can go for a list of project medicine drop locations. So yeah, if you have, as long as your file or your file field data references that URL somewhere, you can type in the entire URL string and search for it in Neat, and Neat should be able to find it from your OCR data or from your file field data. So I hope that answers your question, Melissa. Let's see, what other types of questions have come in? How can I search for a file then move to another location? So Steve asks, how can I search for a file and then move to another location? I'm assuming, I think, Steve, what you mean is how can you search for a file and then move it to another location? You can do that just by opening the file. So for example, like this CVS pharmacy file that I'm looking at is currently in my folder utilizing the grid. So I could change this to another folder just by dragging it over to the folder that I want to put it in. I could change it to another folder by right-clicking on it and choosing move and moving it to another folder. And I can also just open the file and select a folder from my folder dropdown and move it to another folder that way. So I hope that answers your question. I think that's what you mean. If it's not, please clarify and we'll try to get you another answer. All right, let's see what other kinds of it looks like that looks okay, Steve. Yeah, it looks like that's good. Awesome. Well, let's see what other types of questions have come in here. We got that one. John asks, can I use search to find appointments I have scanned? John, yes. As long as you have, it depends on the search terms that you're using to find these appointments that you scanned. You need to know some details about these appointments, like, what types of data is on the appointments that you scanned? Do you know dates? Do you know customers? Do you know category details? As long as the search term that you enter references some file field data or OCR text data that has been extracted or processed from your file, then absolutely you would be able to search and find appointments that you've scanned in. You just need to know, whether or not the search terms that you're using would show up in your file field data or your OCR text data. If details about the scanned appointments are in the image file itself, then you should be able to, because it'll be extracted in the OCR processing. If there's something specific, like a specific search term that you have that you want to ask about, you can let us know and I can share more details if I have some. Okay, so Melissa has another question. She says, hey, one other question. Sometimes I want to see additional columns. Is there a way to do that? So this is a great question too, Melissa. Sometimes you might be searching for something and you can't see all of the available columns that you're looking for. So for example, earlier I couldn't see the project column. I had searched for a specific project, but you guys couldn't see that I had a project applied for all of my files. If you want to see additional columns here in your grid, all you need to do is click on the column drop down here and select the columns that you want to see by putting a check mark next to them. Removing a check mark will remove that column from the grid as well. Now, just like your filters, your columns are affected by your item types. So right now, I'm only viewing receipts. However, if I removed these filters, and now I'm viewing 256 receipts, 4 bills, 2 contacts, 30 documents, 1 invoice, the columns that I have are different and they're limited now. So again, the columns are really dependent on the type of data that you see in the grid. So if you want to see more columns and you're not seeing them in the column drop-down list, you need to update your filters. You need to filter to one item type like receipts only, and then you'll get all of the receipt-specific columns that you can add to your drop-down. So now I have a lot more columns that I can add. So Melissa, I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Kathy says, I have some older files that may have been uploaded before OCR. Is the text from those files still searchable? Kathy, this is a really great question. So I don't recall a time when we didn't have OCR processing in Neat. So I'm pretty sure all of your files would be searchable by a OCR text. However, if any of you are having trouble with the OCR text that has been processed off of a file, or you don't think that it has been processed by OCR, there is a reprocessing tool that you can use. So you can open up a file and you can click reprocess down here in the bar at the bottom and click reprocess. And what Neat will do is Neat's going to send it back through processing, just as if you uploaded the file to Neat the very first time. It'll end up back in your needs review filter. It'll be processed by OCR. You know, if you reclassify it to an item type like a receipt or a business card, it'll be, you know, data from it will be extracted into your categories and everything. So if you're not sure if your file has been processed by OCR, you can always reprocess your file to ensure that it has been, or to improve OCR processing if, you know, you're having trouble pulling something off of a document. So I hope that answers your question, Kathy. Let's see. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions, and then I think we'll wrap for the day. Anybody whose question we do not get an answer for, we will follow up with you, you know, today, tomorrow with an answer and some recommendations. Let's see, some other stuff. Doug Sands. Doug, this is a really cool idea. Do you have any plans to implement a multi-column sorting capability? For example, can you sort by vendor, by amount? That's really great. That's a more advanced sorting, filtering capability. At this point in time, I can't recall if that is on our roadmap specifically for this year, but it's definitely going to be something that we float to our, you know, our development team is maybe something we can apply as perhaps a quick enhancement. I never know how much work I'm asking them to complete when I send them these types of things, but that's a really cool idea. Anybody who has ideas like this for features that aren't available in Neat, please send them to us. We love hearing feedback. We love hearing your different use cases and things that'll make your use cases easier to manage in Neat. A lot of the features that we've implemented at the end of 2023 were implemented specifically from feature requests that may have come from webinars. So make sure you guys share your feedback or any ideas that you have. We love hearing them. Don asks a very similar question. Can we do a multi-column sort? And at this point in time, no, but we'll definitely follow up with that. If that becomes we are going to be running some webinars this year called What's New in Neat. So, you know, we're going to be calling out features that become available to you this year. Make sure you check out some of those. We might have something like that in a future webinar. Let's see. What other questions? We'll answer one more question. Melissa says, great, that's all my questions. All right, we'll answer this one last one for Melissa. Cool. Melissa says, This is a perfect place to end too. She says, cool, I think that's all my questions, but if I need to know more later, how can I get additional help? Great question, Melissa, and great for everybody here too. If any of you guys, again, we're going to follow up with any questions that we didn't answer, but if if you guys want to be proactive or reach out about, scheduling something for support, you can access all of your support resources just by clicking help and support at the bottom left-hand corner of Neat. So this little help and support center here. So not only can you access announcements, which will include new feature releases, you can access our help center with hundreds of knowledge-based articles that myself and George and Tia alike have written. You can also open a support ticket and send us an email, chat with us real time. And if you have a VIP support plan, you can also schedule a one-on-one training with the expert to go over, specific questions and specific use case questions that you might have. So if you need any additional help, you can always check out those help resources. All right. So I hope that answers your question. All right. So, lots of questions I think that we still need to follow up on. That's really great. We will before the end of the day. One last thing that I have for you guys is I did want to share a survey with you. So that survey is going to pop up at the bottom left-hand corner now. The survey is just asking you how we did. Please let us know how we did. Let us know if there's something else that you'd like to see us cover in terms of searching. If there was anything that we can improve, if there's other types of webinars that you would like to see, any feedback that you guys share is welcome. We appreciate it a lot. It helps us to enhance and make these webinars better. So that brings us to the end today. I appreciate everybody so much for spending an hour of time with me today. I really appreciate your time and your energy. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and we'll follow up with anybody whose question has not gotten answered very soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.